Have you ever had one of those colds that turns your head into just this big lead weight? And every morning you wake up with your sinuses just clogged and full of just this green, gross, phlegmy, snotty crap that comes out of your nostrils, but also drips into your throat. And it's just really gross and makes your throat all kinds of sore, and you're just coughing all the time. And at first you worry that you might have COVID, but then you're tested and you find out, no, it's just a cold. So you're a little bit more relieved than you were originally. But then the systems just keep persisting and persisting and persisting. And the only thing you want to do is get into a bath full of NyQuil and just sit there and soak for days. But no, you've got a job to do. You've got responsibilities. You've got a family to take care of and all that stuff. Have you ever felt like that? Well, that's been me for at least the past week. Hello and welcome to a very snotty and phlegmy edition of Just Another Fanboy. So let's just get it out of the way right now, folks. This was the week I was going to launch Season 6 of Just Another Fanboy with a brand new episode on Tuesday the 4th. But the 4th has gone by and there was no new episode. And today is the 5th, and you're actually getting another bonus episode, another episode of my other podcast. So why? Why is that, Stephen? Why are you doing that? Well, I've had a cold for the past week that has really just been kicking me in the head with these big steel-toed boots. And the last thing I've really wanted to do over the last week is talk. And I'm feeling a bit better today, but it was too late. It's too late for me to record an episode for Tuesday because, well, today, as I'm recording this, it is Tuesday night. So I figured, all right, I'll just push my Season 6 launch back till next week, even though technically, if you look at this online, it's considered a Season 6 episode, but it's a bonus episode. I don't want to get into all that stuff right now, folks, because I'm about to start coughing. And once I start coughing, I may not stop until my lungs are presented to me there on the carpet with weird things all around them. And then, you got to wash them off because you just, as much as you vacuum, you're never quite 100% sure that your carpet is completely clean. So you got to wash your lungs, and it's not easy to breathe while you're washing your own lungs. And I don't want to go through all that. So instead, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop talking here in just a moment. I'm going to give you an episode of my other podcast that goes back to December 3rd, in which I am talking about podcasting in general and other weird things and junk and stuff and all that. So here you go. As my throat is starting to close up and my sinuses are closing up, here is your bonus episode for today. I have a lot on my mind, a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. Unfortunately, as far as the general public is concerned, pretty much everything that I need to get off my chest is fairly inconsequential and nobody really cares. However, you folks, this audience, this format, this stage, this, what's the word I'm looking for? This platform, that's it. Platform shoes, 7-inch heels. Let's rock on with our bad selves and all that stuff. You guys might actually be somewhat interested. You're the perfect audience for what I have to say, folks. And whether that makes you feel good or makes you feel a bit sad, it doesn't really matter, because if you are listening now, then you're still listening. You're hanging in there. You're a part of this now. You can't escape. You can't escape at all the clutches of the clutcher, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So I guess I should probably just start talking about stuff that I have on my chest to talk about that I feel is important, but nobody else does. So, but first, music. Hello and welcome to another episode of my other podcast. My name is Steven, and been a bit, what a ding dong a dig a do. I gotta stop doing musical stuff while a song is playing underneath me because the beat is not gonna get you because they won't match up. So I haven't quite decided what I'm gonna call this episode yet. Right now, what's running through my mind is just simply on podcasting and other such nonsense. I actually quite like that, on podcasting and other such nonsense, because that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about podcasting. I'm going to talk about other stuff, other such nonsense. But first, let's talk about podcasting. Here's why podcasting is first and foremost in my mind at the moment. Probably because I happen to be podcasting right at this very moment. Probably, I would assume. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but that makes sense, doesn't it, folks? Doesn't it make sense to you sitting there in your comfy little chair? I'm not sure why I got so angry there, but first, let's cast our eyes over at just the podcasting world in general. I have been listening to a few new podcasts lately. I actually have spent much of my year not listening to any podcasts because I had decided I was going to finally, once and for all, complete the Wheel of Time books, and I was going to do that by listening to them. I listened to the first one. I recorded my thoughts. I put that out there as an episode of Just Another Fanboy. I've listened to the second one, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and record my thoughts regarding that second book, and I don't want to start the third book until I have given my thoughts about the second one. So in order to occupy my brain while I'm driving a large motor vehicle, I have been checking out some podcasts. And unfortunately, I have succumbed to celebrity, meaning that, back in the day when I first started podcasting back in 2006, there might have been a couple of big, semi-big names that might have been podcasting, but not really. It was mostly the podcasters were folks like me who were doing this kind of stuff in their homes. But now, more than ever, it seems like more and more celebrities are hosting their own podcasts. And frankly, I blame COVID, and I'll tell you why. Once COVID hit and everybody started to quarantine, and many actors and actresses could no longer work because they shut down movie sets and TV sets and whatnot, and stages and all that junk. These actors and actresses needed to find a way to score a little bit of cheddar. And one of the things that I think became quickly apparent to them as they were trying to stay in contact with their friends and family while quarantining and using stuff like Skype and Zoom to do this, many of them hit upon the idea of creating podcasts. Now, I don't fully blame COVID for this because some celebrities were already doing this. Of course, I think the leader of this celebrity, and it's a celebrity interview podcast is what I'm seeing mostly. And we've had a number of them, or a few of them, that came out before COVID ever hit. But once COVID really hit, we're seeing a larger influx. And it's again, I think it's just these celebrities who've realized that A, they have the time, B, they have the technology, C, they have tons of other celebrity friends, and D, they can make money doing this. They can stay in their own home, make money through advertising because they've got a built-in audience already, folks. Let's look at some of these podcasts that I've been listening to. Literally with Rob Lowe, where he just has his celebrity friends on. Recently, the newest episode that I started listening to today, he's got Dule Hill on. If you're not quite sure who that is, he plays Gus in Psych. He was also in The West Wing, which Rob Lowe was also in. You've also got, of course, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. That's been out for a while. I think he's been doing it for a couple of years, and he talks to a lot of celebrities. Smartless is one that I've just recently run across. It's got 3 celebrity co-hosts, Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett, and they take turns inviting a special celebrity guest that they can interview each week. And again, they're all 3 of them are in their own homes. The celebrity guest is wherever they're at, and it's all being done remotely through the internet. And of course, if you are a celebrity and you have a bit of scratch already because of it, if a lot of these folks, they're not, these are fairly big name people. So they've already got money. So they can afford the best equipment. They can afford the fancy microphones. They can afford to hire people to edit this stuff for them. And again, they go out there and they get that advertising. Now, a celebrity interview podcast that I've been listening to for a long time is, of course, WTF with Mark Maron. And he's been doing it. He's probably the OG when it comes to celebrity interview podcasts. He started a long time ago and was doing it out of his garage. And, it's one of those things where the celebrities would actually come to his house. He's in the California area somewhere, I believe, somewhere near or around LA. And so celebrities would actually come to his house and sit with him in the garage, and they would podcast. He would interview them. But now with the internet being the way it is and stuff like Zoom and Skype and all that junk, it's sky's the limit for these folks. And so I went out and I did a search on celebrities who have podcasts, and there are just so many of them. Rob Lowe, for example, I've already talked about him, Literally with Rob Lowe, which is kind of a fun podcast. But I believe he also has a second one out there where he and some other dude are doing a Parks and Rec rewatch. And so not only has Rob Lowe dipped his toes, or not only is he swimming in the celebrity interview podcasting swimming pool, he's also now in somewhat of I don't want to say the nerd geekery side of it as well, but really that's listening to a podcast where people are talking about each episode of a TV show, and that's the stuff right there. That's the kind of stuff we like, especially if it's one of your favorite TV shows. And if you have a choice between just two dudes in frickin' Kansas or frickin' Minnesota or Wisconsin or Arizona or wherever, who's just sitting down and discussing, hey, let's do an episode of Parks and Rec. We'll do a Parks and Rec podcast, and we'll just review every episode once a week. That might be fun. You might enjoy that. But if you have a choice between that and listening to somebody who is actually on the show talk about, review the show and each episode of the show once a week and talk about behind the scenes stuff and what was going on and how things happened, that might be something you might want to actually listen to instead. And I'm not frustrated because there's always been 1,000,001 podcasts out there. So it's not like, here I am doing this tiny little comic book themed podcast. So I'm obviously not trying to compete with Rob frickin' Lowe or good Lord, there's just so many of them out there that are doing it right now. There's a really great one called Office Ladies where and I can never remember their real names, but basically Pam and Angela from The Office, they're doing an Office rewatch after show discussion, podcast, which is really fun. Maggie Lawson and Timothy Amundsen, I always mispronounce his name, Carlton Lasseter and Jules from frickin' Psych. They've now started a Psych rewatch podcast called The Psychologists Are In. And so far that's been a lot of fun. And that's, I hate to say it, but that's what I've been listening to a lot recently, are just these celebrity interview podcasts. There's something I compare it to watching, like The Tonight Show or any one of the late night shows where a celebrity comes on and they get maybe 15 minutes at the most to sit and talk with Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon or who's the other guy? I can't think of the other guy's name, and he's my favorite one. He's the one that does the God, what is his name? Stephen Colbert. It's like, not only do they not get very long to actually sit down and have any kind of discussion, pretty much everything that they talk about during that 5 minutes or 15-minute segment is all planned out. Most of that is not just off the cuff, but you take that and you turn it into a podcast where they sit down with this celebrity, for an hour. You get some good stuff out of that. recently on Smart Lists, I've listened to them talk to George Clooney, Fred Armisen, Robert Downey Jr. I think one of the newer episodes of Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, he's talking to Ellie Kemper. I listened to an older episode where he talked to John Lithgow. They're really fun. They're fun to listen to. And one of the things I like about them is that I don't have to listen each and every week. If they got a celebrity on that I don't really give a crap about, I don't listen. And so I can skip episodes and feel good about it. But when I'm listening to my peeps, my fellow colleagues, my contemporaries who do comic book podcasts and whatnot, I feel like I have to listen to every single episode because, us comic book collectors are completists, and it sounds stupid, but I feel like I have to listen to each and every episode. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm not trying to talk down any of these podcasts. There's a lot of them out there that I really love, but good Lord, man, there's just so much time in your freaking day, and I don't have time to listen to everything that I want to listen to. And my listening habits are fairly cyclical. Right now it's all celebrity interview podcasts. Maybe in 2 months I'll be back to listening to audiobooks, and then 2 months after that I may be listening to nothing but comic book podcasts about Superman. It's like that's just the way my tastes run. It's I can't stick to one thing for a certain amount of time. I gotta loop it around and try out different things. And yeah, but that's just something I've observed recently with the podcasting world, is this massive influx of celebrities hosting their own podcasts where they talk to other celebrities. Dax Shepard does one. Michael Rosenbaum, is that his name? Lex Luthor from Smallville, he does one. Frickin' Anna Faris, I think, does one. There's just Nick Offerman. You throw a frickin' rock at a group of celebrities and chances are the one you hit does a frickin' podcast these days. And while that's great, I think it's a fun time, and it's a lot of fun stuff to listen to. At some point, I feel like it's going to implode. There's just going to be so many of them that nobody's going to be listening to. Nobody can listen to all of them, and eventually their ad revenue will go down, and they'll stop doing it. Or the pandemic will finally, people will finally get vaccinated and wear masks, and the pandemic will maybe eventually go away to an extent that a lot of these folks will be working regular jobs again, and they won't be doing these podcasts. But we'll see. They're fun. I enjoy them, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just talking off the top of my head, folks. Just rambling. I'm a rambling man, just rambling along. And speaking of my own podcast, I have to tell you, I am a freaking idiot. We talked about this. We've discussed it many times, how I just tend to have an idea and I grab it and I start doing it. And then I realize I shouldn't have done this. And while I'm not saying that The Streaming Fool was a mistake or that Event or Else was a mistake, good Lord, I haven't done an episode of Event or Else in maybe 2 months. And I've gained a couple of subscribers over at the YouTube channel. So now I feel there's this pressure in the back of my mind to frickin' do some more episodes, at least finish Crisis on Infinite Earths, right? So I've been worried about that and trying to focus on that and failing miserably. But at the same time, I've been watching, The Wheel of Time and Hawkeye and trying to record episodes for The Streaming Fool. And there has come a point over this last week where because I'm not doing Just Another Fanboy right now, right? We're on a break, and we probably will be until January. And though I will throw in a couple of bonus episodes now and again, this might be one of them. I might throw this up on the Just Another Fanboy feed in a couple weeks. But, there's a part of me that is, punching myself in the side of the head going, you know what? If you would just drop everything else, except for, of course, my other podcast, because I love you people. If you would drop all the other stuff you're doing and just focus on Just Another Fanboy, maybe you could create something pretty darn special right there. And one of the ideas that I thought about is trying to have a guest on once a month. I put a tweet up today or a couple of tweets talking about the people I've talked to so far on Just Another Fanboy, which there haven't been that many in the grand scheme of, when you look at the number of episodes I've done for Just Another Fanboy, 1%, maybe even less of that are episodes in which I've had a guest on. And many of those have been Harold Jennett. But I've talked to, Michael Kill, who's a nerdcore rapper, Sulfur, who's a nerdcore rapper, Kyle Stevens from Kirby Crackle, which is a nerd rock band. I've talked to fellow podcasters such as Brad Milo and Frank A. Rincon from Half Hour Wasted. And in fact, I even did that one episode with Bill McGonnell and Frank from Half Hour Wasted. Was that one, or it was 2 episodes talking about Monty Python? Those were fun. And of course, I've had Harold on a bunch of episodes. I've had an old work buddy of mine, Arthur. He's been on an episode talking about Suicide Squad. And, if I've left anybody out, I apologize. Peter Rios, I've had him on. He is, of course, an OG comic book podcaster. And I kind of want to get back to that. I want to, once a month, I don't have to get all, dive deep into the, let's make it a weekly freaking interview podcast. And because then I'd just be running myself ragged trying to schedule interviews. And I don't want to do that. That's crazy. So there's a part of me now at this point that maybe by the end of the year, I'll look at where I'm at. And when we start 2022, there's a good chance that I may just be like, everything else is on the wayside, and it's just going to be Just Another Fanboy from here on out. And of course, my other podcast, because, I was looking at the calendar and I was thinking about how, because basically we just ended what I'm referring to as season 5 of Just Another Fanboy. And I've never really taken a look at things and said, here's where a season will start during the year, and here's where a season will end, and this is where I'm going to take a break. And it's just been I start a season, and at some point I'm just like, I feel like taking a break, and then I'll take a break. But if I ever wanted to actually format a schedule, I could podcast even if it was just once a week, 22 weeks in a row from the beginning of January to the end of May. Take all of June off, start up another season then at the beginning of July, and podcast till the end of November, and then take December off, and then just do that every year. Seems doable. I mean, in essence, if I'm only doing it once a week, it's 22 episodes a week. If I'm not doing anything else and I feel like kicking that up a notch, you're looking at, did I say 22 episodes a week? Good Lord. 22 episodes a season. So 22 weeks in a season. Kick that up a notch, and it could be 44 episodes a season, and doing 2 episodes a week. But it's something I really got to think about, because I do feel like I have to finish talking about Crisis on Infinite Earths over at Event or Else. There's another part of me that's just thought, why don't I just merge everything into Just Another Fanboy? other podcasts do that. They have one feed, and then if they do these other episodes, it's like, hey, here's my feed. It's Just Another Fanboy, but I feel like doing an Event or Else podcast this week. Just stick that right there in the Just Another Fanboy feed. I don't know. Doing it that way, though, at the same time kind of messes with my OCD. So what else have I been doing? Let's talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about comics for a second. I'm getting my phone out because I read all my comics on my phone. And I recently, through my Comixology app, I just lined up a bunch of, if you're following me on Twitter, on Instagram, you'll notice that I've been reading a lot of comics lately. And what I've been doing is I have a lot of comics through Comixology that I have yet to read or finish. And I'm talking like collections, like, graphic novel collections, trade paperback collections, those kind of things. And so I went through my Comixology and I downloaded a bunch of them onto my phone. And I said, I'll just read one issue per collection at a time and just go through my list until I get to the end of the list. And then I'll start over and read another issue from each collection. So for example, right now I decided I'm reading a book called Snow Angels. It's a Comixology original book by Jeff Lemire and Jock. And they've done 2 seasons of this, which are like 6 episodes each. 6 episodes, God, 6 issues each. And I read the first season a while back when it came out, and I started reading the second season. and I got about 3 issues in, and then I got distracted, and they just this week put out issue number 6, the final issue of the season. So I thought I'd start season 2 all over. So I'm going to go ahead and just read those 6 issues, and then I'll get back to my list. And so, for example, if we go to the top of the list, I have the Silver Surfer Epic Collection, which starts with Silver Surfer issue number 1 from, it's not the very first Silver Surfer. This is an issue by John Byrne. And then most of this stuff is from the 80s, the Silver Surfer collection. And then I've got, so I'll read 1 issue from that, and then I'll go to the next, which is Savage Dragon. I read 1 issue from that collection. And then there's Moon Knight Epic Collection, Excalibur Epic Collection, the New Defenders, Fantastic Four, the Walt Simonson run on Fantastic Four. I'm reading Starbrand, New Universe. I have the Amazing Spider-Man, the Epic Collection that is right now I'm in the middle of when Todd McFarlane was on The Amazing Spider-Man. I've got Infinite Crisis to read. I'm going to start rereading Preacher, X-Men and Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. I have an X-Men Epic Collection that is when John Romita Jr. was on the book the first time, not later in the 90s. This is early 80s. Transformers, More Than Meets the Eye. This is a book that Harold has been wanting me to read, and I'm getting ready to start issue number 6. Conan the Barbarian Epic Collection, the Marvel years. I think I'm around issue number 4 at this point. Luke Cage, Second Chances, Volume 1. This is when Luke Cage got his own series back in the 90s. The X Factor Epic Collection, when X Factor first started, when it was the original X-Men. Avengers Epic Collection. This is from the 80s with John Buscema and I think Roger Stern. West Coast Avengers Epic Collection from the 80s. Captain America from the 80s. Ghost Rider from the 90s. Kevin Smith's Green Arrow. Hellboy, the Hellboy Omnibus. Don't know why I can't talk. So I started that recently with the original first issue, Seed of Destruction. Iron Man from the 80s, late 80s, back half of the 80s. Justice League International, the Bwahaha era. Another New Universe book, Cyforce. Black Hammer. I did read that first trade from Jeff Lemire a while back, but I'm starting it over because I want to get all caught up on Black Hammer. Hulk Visionaries, the Peter David run. I am currently in the part of his run with the Gray Hulk when he was Joe Fixit in Las Vegas. Wolverine Epic Collection. This is when they gave Wolverine his own series in the 80s. That was John Buscema, I think, was the penciler on that. Daredevil from the late 80s. John Romita Jr. was on that. Punisher from the 80s, which started with the 5-issue limited series with Mike Zeck. There's a Comixology original book called All Nighter that I'm reading, which is really fun. They had just a freaking awesome boom sale on Comixology recently, and I got the first 3 trades of Once and Future, volumes 1, 2, and 3 for 89 cents each. I'm reading Blue Beetle from the 80s, DC. The Sixth Gun, this is Cullen Bunn, and I can't remember who the artist on that is, but I read a number of those issues back in the day, so I'm starting that all over. I'm going to give the Dynamite Lone Ranger book a try. I'm finally going to get caught up on Philadelphia. I'm going to be starting issue 9 here very soon. Another New Universe book, DP7, The Ultimates, which was a great Ultimate Avengers book. New Mutants, the Rob Liefeld years, and that's it. That's what I got all lined up, ready to go. And then, of course, whatever comes out on the DC app each week as far as their quote-unquote new releases, which means they're about 6 months old, and then the new releases that come out on the Marvel app, and those are typically 3 months old. I wish DC would get on that wagon and start sticking books up on their app 3 months after they release instead of 6, but whatever. Another project I'm working on here that, like I said, I'm amazingly busy. I don't know if you recognize that sound. That is a video cassette. if you ever visit my website, StephenROr.com, a number of weeks ago, I started making music videos for an old band I was in back when I was in my before I was 20. I think the 3 songs I've done so far were from 1992, and I was not quite 20 at that point. But I was in a number of bands throughout the 90s, and we recorded a number of songs in local recording studios, and it's been kind of fun just putting together music videos for those. But I'm using a combination of like video clips that you can get through Canva, which, you just get these video clips on Canva. And then I'm trying to utilize actual video footage of our live shows from back in the day, which isn't great footage. It's usually just a friend of ours that we'd have come to a club that we were playing that night, and we'd stick an old, video camera on a tripod, and they'd hit record. And every once in a while, depending on who we had running the camera, might zoom in on any of the band members every once in a while and maybe move the camera, pan it back and forth and whatnot. But for a lot of them, it's literally just a shot of the stage. You can see the band on the stage, and that's just the way it stays. But currently, I only have 2 of those shows digitized, and it was one of the other band members in one of the bands we were in had done that and put that up on his YouTube channel. Well, I have a number of video cassettes of our live shows because I had a video camera back in the day, but none of it's digitized. And I recently bought a piece of hardware that comes with software that you plug into a VCR, then you plug it into your computer, and it digitizes video for you. I got that in and then realized, holy crap, I don't have a VCR. Well, I finally got a hold of a VCR. I don't know if it works yet. I haven't tried it out because it's been sitting in like my parents' closet or something for a number of decades. And I wanted to make sure that the heads were clean before I put any of my old videotapes in it. So I ordered a freaking VCR Head Cleaner, and that's supposed to come in today. And so over the weekend, I'm sure I'll be digitizing videos and having some fun with that. And then I'll get back to making music videos once every month or once every couple of weeks or whatnot. Because I do have fun doing that. It doesn't take as long as doing like an event or else video, because those videos are like 15 to 20 minutes long, whereas one of these music videos are maybe 4 minutes long. So it doesn't take up as much as as much of my time, and it's a lot of fun doing. And if you're ever out there, StephenROr.com, link will be in the show notes. There's basically anything that I've ever done creatively that I can put on a website, I'm trying to get up on that website. And the old web comics I used to do with Harold Jennett, which we're thinking about bringing back. We haven't quite decided. We need some folks who want to get behind that. If we, it's here's the thing about creating things nowadays. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot out of you. Anytime you create something that starts as an idea in your head and you spend the time to actually take that idea out of your head and make something out of it, whether it's a song or a story or a comic book or a freaking podcast, whatever it is, it takes something out of you to make that into something. It takes your time, it takes your energy, it takes your freaking heart and soul, and it can sometimes be very emotional creating something, especially if it's something out of your heart, like a freaking song or a story or a comic book or whatnot. And then you spend that time and that energy and that emotional output creating something, and then you put it out there for everybody to see, and you get back crickets, right? It's very hard on a person when that happens. And so you put the first thing out and you get crickets. It's like, all right, well, it's brand new. There's millions of things. There's billions of things out there for people to look at online. I'll make another, and I'll make another, and I'll make another. And, 30, 40, 50 of them later, you're still getting crickets. And at some point you got to ask yourself, well, maybe what I've created is just crap. but in your heart, you're looking at it and you just know it's not crap. And so that's with Harold and I and these web comics. That's where a lot of it is with us. We don't have a lot of time to put into creating web comics. Him even less than me, because my part is fairly easy. I just write them. He's got to actually take what I've written and put it out there, create something out of that. So I have to take an idea and make a story out of it. And then he has to take that story and make art out of it. And it takes him longer. I could write freaking 10 scripts a day and he might only be able to do 2 strips a week. But you spend that time and that energy and you put them out there and you get crickets. And so I have been putting them out on Stephen or Else, the old ones, and then tweeting about them and putting them on Instagram. And I literally, in those posts, I say, like this tweet or like this Instagram post if you want us to make more. And I get a handful, but if we get more, if we get like at least 50 on any strip that I put up there, then we probably will come back and start making more strips because, we enjoy doing it. We enjoy making this stuff. We're very proud of the stuff we make. We're very proud of what we're putting out there. But if nobody's looking at it, it's almost like, what's the point? We're not, not everybody can be Prince, who will write hundreds and hundreds of songs, spend time writing them and recording them, and then just never letting anybody listen to them. It's like after he died, people discovered that he had all this music that he had recorded, that he just wanted to make this music. He didn't care if anybody listened to it. And I wish I could be that way, but I don't understand that. To me, it's like if you're creating something you're like that, if you're creating a piece of art, you're doing it for people to enjoy it. You're doing it for yourself because it's something that's in your head that has to get out. It's clawing its way out of your head. And if you don't get it out of your head and put it out on something, whether it's a story, getting it out on paper or whatever, it's almost like you can't sleep until you get it out of your head. But then the next part of that is, now that it's out there, now that I've created it, maybe some people will get some enjoyment out of it. And that's where it gets more difficult. But I've rambled on, I think, for long enough, folks. I hope you enjoyed hearing what I had to say. This should have been, I didn't get an episode out last week because, frankly, I was on vacation. I really wanted to because last month I did an episode about issue number 1 of DC versus Vampires. And I wanted to do one this month as well because the second issue has come out. And I should have done that last week because that's when the issue came out. And I was going to do it this week, but I had all this other stuff on my mind that I wanted to talk about instead. So hopefully you'll get that next week because I want to do an episode per issue as they come out each month because it's been a pretty fun series so far just with the first 2 issues out there. And frankly, it's got Green Arrow in it and anything new that I can read that has Green Arrow in it. But Green Arrow done well, I'm going to be all over. And this has got Green Arrow in it and he seems to be written very well. So look for that next week. Hopefully I can find the time next week to do that. I'm supposed to have a lot more time on my hands this week. I'm back from vacation. I'm only doing the Streaming Fool and my other podcast. So really, I should have only been recording 3 episodes this week. But since I fell behind on the Streaming Fool last week, I had to do my Wheel of Time episode for Tuesday of the Streaming Fool, my Hawkeye episodes 1 and 2 before I could do episode 3 of Hawkeye for Thursday's episode. So I had to do that episodes 1 and 2 for Wednesday. So yeah, I mean, good Lord, if these problems that I'm having, that I'm talking about, that I'm struggling with, if these are the only problems I ever have to face for the rest of my life, then I am going to be the happiest man you'll ever meet. Because these problems that I'm talking about, they're not problems. They're not problems at all. Are they really? I mean, come on. They're not. Oh my gosh, I don't have time to do all the podcasts that I want to do. Oh my gosh, I'm doing podcasts that I don't have to, shut up, right? These are not problems. They're just slightly minor annoyances. They're not even minor annoyances. They're minor annoyances. And I don't know why I'm complaining, because I shouldn't be. So I'll stop and I'll finish up this episode. I'll wrap it up. This is the wrap up. This is me wrapping it up. This was a long episode this week, folks, and you deserved it because you're there with me each and every week. Every month I see the little thing come up and say, here's how much money we're putting in your freaking PayPal. And I go, gosh, those people are awesome. If, it's like, and I'm so thankful for the fact that you folks are there each and every month. And, I tell myself, wouldn't it be nice if I had enough people on the Patreon that I could freaking just do this for the rest of my life and live comfortably and not have to worry about bills and not have to go work for the man. But, that's never going to happen. I know that. And I'm so thankful for what I have and what you guys have provided in my life, this little outlet of mine to get all this geekery nonsense out of my head, because God knows my family doesn't want to hear me talking about it. So I thank you guys. And I guess I'll talk to you here on this channel, on this station next week. Bye. Me open up my Diet Mountain Dew here. Baby.